I feel like there's this one problem, or maybe problems, I could be wrong, could not just be one problem, but there's one thing that's not being talked about in this whole, like, we're gonna go back to 6v6, is I personally feel like Overwatch, even now, even till this day, is struggling a lot with its vision or its philosophy on what this game is meant to be. And that has nothing to do, maybe it has something to do with balance as well, but I personally feel like they don't know what they want from this game either, and they feel and they act and they talk like they do, but they just don't show any signs of life. And okay, no, we figured this out. Like, the tank changes were horrible. Like, I think all of us can agree that over buffing tank and stripping all the agency from the DPS role, keeping supports as strong as they are, and the DPS only has like two totally like viable characters that can put up a fight with the breakpoints and the crazy amount of healing in the games, like Pharah and Echo. Every other DPS has been reduced to a really awkward and terrible version of themselves just so the tank role can feel better. And it's like, is this what the game is constantly going to be? It's like every season, every mid-season, we're going to flip the coin and see which role gets to have fun. Like, can't we just be consistent about it? And while I could go on about this one for a while, I just want to talk about, some more things. There was an interview with Aaron Keller and Alec Dawson that was conducted by SVB on his group of podcast, and Flats was there, and they asked a lot of good questions. But while I really liked a lot of the things I heard, I just felt like I imagined, or sorry, I remembered a few months ago when I read one of the dev blogs that instilled hope and, okay, they might figure out how to, make the game feel better. And fast forwarded, we ended up in season 9 where the game did feel better. And then immediately they caved in to a certain Rolls' complaints about how the game felt, and just immediately turned Overwatch back into the most miserable experience that you could have asked for. And what does that mean? I personally believe that it doesn't matter whether you're in 5v5 or whether you're in 6v6. There is a point in this game where this game can feel fun to play. And that is the priority for a game, is to feel fun to play. I took a break from Overwatch recently, and I've been having so much fun playing a lot of other things because they feel fun to play, because they feel responsive, because they feel fair in that I've earned something. It doesn't feel like I've cheat coded my way through something because I pressed a button and it rendered somebody else's efforts useless. And this is the problem I have with Overwatch. Now, Juno has been the biggest sign of life for me that, okay, maybe they have this figured out. Maybe they understand that, okay, this is how you should make characters. But at the same time, that's kind of how I felt when Junker Queen came out, and then Ramatra came out, and they were good. And then they got a bit too excited, and then 𝐒𝐈𝐶 came out, and it was like, what in God's name is this character? Like, how did you make Junker Queen a pretty fun and fair to play character with a good skill ceiling? Ramatra as well, although he can be a little bit annoying, but he's really not that bad. He's pretty fair now, I would say, in the current state of the game. 𝐒𝐈𝐶, like when you kind of see the 3 tanks that we've gotten that are quote unquote new in the Overwatch 2 lifespan, it's like, oh, there's this like history of them doing this one little thing right. They get good feedback, and then they experiment that, okay, but what if we did like the complete opposite of this now? And then you end up with something like 𝐒𝐈𝐶, and then you're sitting there like, what in God's name is this? And you can see that little cycle kind of continue in the other hero releases that we got in damage and support. Is, when we got 𝐒𝐄, I'm gonna be fair, I'm gonna be a little bit fair. I like most of 𝐒𝐄's kit until we get to Suzu. I'm even willing to let her keep teleporting through walls. But that Suzu thing is ridiculous. And then you times that by 10 and you end up with 𝐒𝐈𝐈. If you thought 𝐒𝐄 was bad, well, here's 𝐒𝐈𝐈. Here's 𝐒𝐈𝐈 who complements Baptiste, who brings out, in my personal opinion, Baptiste brings out some of the worst of Overwatch's design flaws. And pair that with 𝐒𝐈𝐈, who, well, not 𝐒𝐈𝐈 herself, but her pylon enables the worst of Overwatch as well. And now you have a game that feels absolutely terrible. And hey guys, like, I'm a big 𝐒𝐈𝐈 fan. You're going to see a lot of 𝐒𝐈𝐈 footage in the background. Anybody that comes down to my stream, they see that I play a lot of 𝐒𝐈𝐈. And I love the character. But I hate this approach that's being taken for the game. And again, the one problem I have with the 6v6 move or the 5v5 staying in this area or whatever the case might be, is that potentially for the next 2 years, Overwatch is going to be locked in an experiment where potentially the devs could twist and manipulate the way the game plays and flows to where they could just come out and then say, well, you see, everybody complained about that 6v6 test. You see, the people didn't like that test. People didn't like this test. And it's like, yeah, but you made a bad balance for that test. You did that, or you did this, or you did that. But they're not going to listen, because at that point they'd be like, well, we don't want to waste that much more time. We're going to stay in 5v5 and we're going to go forward. But here's the deal. Here's the kicker in all of this. I feel like you can make 5v5 fun if you want to stay in 5v5. The problem is you're never going to deal with the counter swap problem with the tank role. Now, the same thing also applies back on over to 6v6. Yes, you can make 6v6 fun. There is going to be a counter swap problem, but that's alleviated because of attention division. When there's two tanks, you know, let's say a matchup. Let's take a matchup. When you have D.Va, you have Zarya. Okay, D.Va and Zarya. Zarya counters D.Va, but if the map allows D.Va to do a little bit more, to move around a little bit more, verticality, etc., D.Va can play around the Zarya. Now, put a Reinhardt in front of that Zarya and next to D.Va, and the matchup for Zarya changes. But at the same time, that Zarya could have a Ramattra by her side, and now that's a very interesting 2 versus 2 matchup from the tank frontline perspective. Okay, so the gameplay style and format and everything, it does change quite a bit of things. But what's important in order for the game to feel fun, again, it's a video game. The most important thing for a video game is to feel fun. In order for it to feel fun, in my opinion, I believe that either format can have a good balance patch. Even 5v5 had good patches. Early beta had good balance patches where the game was fun. It felt proactive. What makes a good balance patch in Overwatch? When the game is about proactivity, then the game is fun. When the game is about standing together, staying at the other team and waiting for them to do something proactive so you can easily punish it and then bombard them with a steamroll, this is when Overwatch is at its worst. This is when Overwatch is at its worst. And I hate the fact that you know, there's statements where they say that 5v5 enabled, you know, more playstyle options. What playstyle options? Every comp that you play now, like majority of the compositions that you're playing right now on a lot of the maps that have been just reduced to brawl or rush maps, all of them play that same design of play together and then run the enemy down. Okay, and then any unique form of a style that you could be playing, it has the characters for that type of playstyle either have been gutted to the point that you cannot do that playstyle anymore, and now they're forced to play that same playstyle of, okay, let me just like stay with my team, let's look for somebody to punish, and then let's go and do something. That is limiting the type of enjoyment, the agency of the player. That is limiting something that the player can do. And again, I want to reiterate my point that the problem with moving to 6v6 is, what if they give us a terrible 6v6 balance patch? And it could, honestly, it could be on purpose. We could end up in that scenario on purpose, and then they could be like, well, you see, a lot of people didn't enjoy 6v6, and then if us as content creators, as a community, we argue with them that, well, you guys gave us one of the worst 6v6 patches of all time, I don't know how you did that, but you managed to pull it off, and now 6v6 feels terrible. They were like, yo, you don't understand, this is how you make a game feel better, because that's what we believe. I mean, how many times have they genuinely taken feedback, even for 5v5, something that the community has suggested that, hey, you know, maybe this character needs help, you know, maybe we can help them like this, and they come out and they do something completely out of the ordinary. Like, for example, let me take a recent one. 𝐒𝐈𝐈 did need help, and she got some help, and she felt like a good B to C tier character depending on the map, and then you could play her like she was good. Like, it's like, okay, this is fine, this is not out of control, this is where we have to keep the character, because once she does get out of control, it's miserable for everybody in the lobby. And what happened? What happened? They couldn't help themselves. They didn't like where 𝐒𝐈𝐈 was, and they gigabuffed the shit out of her. And we're in the meta that we are in now, with 𝐒𝐈𝐈 controlling the game, where every DPS is queuing support again. But it's the same way whenever 𝐒𝐈𝐈 becomes relevant, is because, number one, you know, of course it's fun to play. It's fun to play a character that can legitimately do everything. Is as tanky as a tank, can heal herself through most duels, is one of the best duelists in the game. And on that same note, it's actually hilarious how 3 of the best duelists in this game right now are in the support role. And it's not even damage or tank, it's the supports who get to have everything. And I have a rant video coming for that. With all fairness to my support players, I don't think a lot of the supports are the problem, but there is some design problems in support that we need to address, that if these problems carry over to 6v6, then it's pointless. It is legitimately pointless because we're taking the same problems that we have now over to 6v6, and then we're just going to exaggerate upon that, and we're going to end up back, and then the devs are going to pull a, well, see, we told you so, 6v6 is kind of bad, isn't it? And it's like, well, yeah, of course it's bad now because you made it feel bad. And that's why I'm saying, for me personally, I don't mind what format we're in. I do have a preference for 6v6 a little bit more because I think the game was a lot more about, you know, skill in that area, and all the changes for the 5v5 that we are in now, I don't like it personally. I would like 5v5 to revert back to the way it felt in season 1 or early season 2 with the way the game felt, because it was a lot about proactivity. So the best way that I can express myself, you know, English isn't my first language, and sometimes I may sound like a complete Neanderthal. What I'm trying to say is I want the game to feel more about proactivity. I don't want proactivity just on one role like support or tank because they've been overbuffed. I want it for every role equally, and me personally, I felt like that was something that they achieved from season 1 to 4. But the problem is Overwatch caters to a wide majority of an audience, and I understand that, but you cannot always listen to the people that are genuinely having a skill issue in your game because they can deal with 1 or 2 flankers, or they don't understand that heal botting isn't the way to play the 5v5 format. But what happens? Where do we go now? Now we've forced the idea that the heal botting playstyle is good. We've forced the idea that, okay, well, we're just gonna strip more and more power from the damage roll, or specifically some of the more flanky characters, and honestly, this rant could go on for a while, but I think you see where I'm coming from. Is this isn't just about balance anymore. This is about their vision and their philosophy. What do they want Overwatch to be? Do they want Overwatch, like they kept saying in that interview with SCB and Flats that they wanted to be the strategic game. They want to give players agency. That's why they tested the role passive upgrades. But bro, did you see the role passive upgrades? Supports could permanently reduce their cooldowns by 20%, and DPS got a little bit more ammo. Like, what is that comparison even? And don't even get me started on the other upgrades that support got or what tank got. It's like they looked at support and they were like, oh, we'll make you even stronger in case we did do this. And DPS, yeah, will like spit on your face. And again, the same problem is Hanzo got no benefit when they were testing that. So this is what I see for the future of Overwatch, in my opinion, right? Is as we progressively go along, RANT did say that they do want to do things to give players more agency. Well, how do you do that? I guess hero bans is one way of doing it, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I think we will go down the Paladins or the League of Legends route, where we will have like upgrade trees and different types of passives to enable characters, and maybe limited amount of counter swaps. I've been talking about this on live streams. I haven't talked about this on videos for a while, but I saved it for this occasion because if they are testing these things and they are going to be serious about it, then if they want to encourage more agency, that is one way to do it. It's like, okay, you want to play this one character, you want to play Reaper, you want to upgrade your Reaper, you want to have a passive to help deal with armored characters, here you go. You want to have a passive to do more lifesteal, here you go. And that could potentially happen. But again, the question doesn't get answered, is what is the vision? What is the philosophy for this game? And can you justify as that direction making the game more competitive? Or isn't that just making the game more casual? Because casuals only really want to play 1 or 2 characters, you know? So again, it's just one of those things where they say things and then their actions do something else. And then we end up in this mess where the game gets worse. I just want this game to be fun again, man. Like, this game is the only game that I've played in the past month where in the first 2 matches, the fun of shooting things gets sucked away so quickly. Please revert so many of these health changes. So much shit needs to get reverted. I might do a different video on this, but I really just kind of wanted to get this rant out. I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. I don't know if I made sense with these videos, but like, guys, honestly, I just wanted to talk to people about Overwatch again. I've been busy with Marvel Rivals. I was having fun with that. And then kind of coming back to the game, my mind exploded. I was like, there's no way Overwatch feels this bad right now. Like, how did I play all these games where I felt like I had agency? And I could, like, every role felt good. Even in Marvel Rivals, if you were playing support, you could outplay people on support through your utility. And I thought that was really cool. If you were playing tank, there was ways for you to play make without being absurdly, like, unkillable. And on DPS, the role actually felt like it had an impact with every kill that you got. And honestly, when I come back here in Overwatch, I just feel like one thing. DPS is the new support role, and that you just exist to complement whatever your tank picks, and if you don't complement your tank, get ready to get steamrolled by the other team. Your tank is the lobby admin. If he doesn't want to be the lobby admin and just wants to roll around the ball and feed on cooldown, then enjoy your free loss. And supports get to have everything. They have all the best damage dealing capabilities. They have the best utility in the game. They have insane healing capabilities, obviously, since that's the intention for the role. They have amazing duel potential. They have amazing gameplay changing ultimates that do not get nerfed. Like the fact that a lot of the DPS playmaking ultimates have been nerfed, but 𝐒𝐈𝐈𝐓𝐿's DPS playmaking ultimate has never been nerfed, is insane to me. Why does support get to keep things like this, but damage is where we draw the line? Really? You guys kind of see where I'm going with this, right? Is the vision for this game to really make damage the most pathetic role in the game just so tank can have fun? When we can look at where damage has increased in the tank and support roles, and perhaps tone those down a little bit. Like again, the last thing that I want to talk about before I end this video, when the tank changes came through, where they said they wanted to address burst damage and the way breakpoints work and everything, they upped all the HP bars, they upped all the armor bars and all that shit, right? And the hilarious thing is almost every tank got a breakpoint buff adjustment where they got buffs to their numbers to keep up with the new HP bars. And it just keeps drawing that line further and further of, so you solve the problem and then you fed into the problem and now the cycle is going to repeat itself and we're never going to find a solution. And a soft band-aid fix is to go back to 6v6 and take the best of what people enjoyed about 6v6, play into that, and then go from there. But if they don't do that, I'm sorry, this game doesn't have a future, because it barely even has any content to offer. If you guys think offering one hero every few months and a map or two or a recycled game mode that plays exactly the same like 3 other game modes that already exist, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Please play some other games and come back and realize Overwatch is in one of the worst states it's ever been in. I really want this game to do better. It's the only reason I come back and rant about this game, because I deeply love it. And the only reason I sit here and I get upset about a bunch of damn pixels is because I never see this development team doing anything with this game. They've completely murdered the lore. They've completely murdered the PvE. They've completely murdered how the game feels to play. They've murdered and stripped like identities from characters who were respectfully very like decently high skill ceiling. All that for what? All that for what? What is the vision? Even now, if you ask what is the vision, they don't have an answer. Because their answer to something like that was, well, Overwatch is like this social fabric, I don't know what they were saying, like social competitive shooter. What does that even mean? There's no other game that even uses that title. What does that mean? Do you know what it means? What is a social competitive shooter? In fact, I leave this video to you guys with this question. What is a social competitive shooter, and which other game has used this as a title? Because that's such a ridiculous thing to say that, oh, you know, we viewed this thing as this title. It is a social competitive shooter or social fabric. I don't know what Aaron Keller said. And I just sat there flabbergasted, like, what is that? I thought we were a hero shooter, but now we're a social competitive. Like, you see what I mean? It's like there's a new word, a new terminology, and it just creates more and more problems. By the way, before I end this video, Live Fever buffs are coming next season. It's going to be an amazing time for all of us. And by amazing, I mean it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. I hope to be proven wrong. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.